Goswami Maharaj, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupara Shritara Srila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupara Shritara Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupara Shritara Srila Bhakti Bhakti Vigyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupara Ashritara Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Mahabhagavat Srila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai, Shri Rupana Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jeev Gopal Padadas Raghunath, Shri Goswami Prabhu ki jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Shri Gaur Parshada Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se go Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Braja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Sarva Abhishtabhradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Shri Radhakund Shamakund ki jai, Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai, Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai, Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai, Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Anantapati Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Dandavat pranams Indira Mataji. Oh, I'll say. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Nārāyaṇiti Namine. Sorry, give me a second. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalai Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravrajantam Anapetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Virahakatara Ajuhavo Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Bhinedu Stang Sarva Bhuta Hridaya Munimanatosmi. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Shrinvatang Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Redantasto Yabhadrani Vidhunoti Suritsatam. Nashta Prayesh Vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Raditvam Nayamang Charanantikam. Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Kshiptastakama Titarangamadhe Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I'm just going to read the translations for the 9 verses that we had read yesterday. Or is it 8 verses? I think 8. So Lord Brahma said to all the demigods who were praying to him, because the whole universe became dark due to the 2 sons that were in Diti's womb for 100 years, the demons. Lord Brahma said, after thus congratulating the sages for their nice words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose abode is in the kingdom of God, spoke as follows. The Personality of Godhead said, these attendants of mine, Jai and Vijay by name, have committed a great offense to Jai and Vijay, they have committed a great offense against you because of ignoring me. O great sages, I approve of the punishments that you who are devoted to me have meted out to them. To me, the Brahman is the highest and most beloved personality. The disrespect shown by my attendants has actually been displayed by me, because the doormen are my servitors. I take this to be an offense by myself. Therefore, I seek your forgiveness for the incident that has arisen. A wrong act committed by a servant leads people in general to blame his master, just as a spot of white leprosy on any part of the body pollutes all of the skin. Anyone in the entire world, even down to the Chandal, who lives by cooking and eating the flesh of the dog, is immediately purified if he takes bath and hearing through the ear, the glorification of my name, fame, etc. Now you have recognized me without doubt. Therefore, I will not hesitate to lop off my own arm if its conduct is found hostile to you. The Lord continued, because I am the servitor of my devotees, my lotus feet have become so sacred that they immediately wipe out all sin, and I have acquired such a disposition that the goddess of fortune does not leave me, even though I have no attachment for her, and others praise her beauty and observe sacred vows to secure from her even a slight favor. I do not enjoy the oblations offered by the sacrificers in the sacrificial fire, which is one of my own mouths. With the same relish as I do not, let me reread that. I had a hard time reading this yesterday also. I do not enjoy the oblations offered by the sacrificers in the sacrificial fire, which is one of my own mouths, with the same relish as I do the delicacies overflowing with ghee, which are offered to the mouths of the Brahmins, who have dedicated to me the results of their activities, and who are ever satisfied with my prasad. Okay, so we read up to here. Yesham bibhar mahamakanda vikunta yoga maya vibhutiramal amalankri raja kiritai viprangstuko na vishaheta yararhanambha sadya punati sahachandra lalamalokan. I am the master of my unobstructed internal energy, and the water of the Ganges is the remnant left after my feet are washed. That water sanctifies the 3 worlds, along with Lord Shiva, who bears it on his head. If I can take the dust of the feet of the Vaishnava on my head, who will refuse to do the same? Sorry, 1 second. I just need to see. Okay. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The difference between the internal and external energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is that in the internal energy, or in the spiritual world, all the opulences are undisturbed, whereas in the external or material energy, all the opulences are temporary manifestations. The Lord's supremacy is equal in both the spiritual and material worlds. But the spiritual world is called the kingdom of God, and the material world is called the kingdom of Maya. Maya refers to that which is not actually fact. The opulence of the material world is a reflection. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that this material world is just like a tree whose roots are up and branches down. This means that the material world is the shadow of the spiritual world. Real opulence is in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, the predominating deity is the Lord himself, whereas in the material world, there are many lords. That is the difference between the internal and external energies. The Lord says that although he is the predominating factor of the internal energy, and although the material world is sanctified just by the water that has washed his feet, he has the greatest respect for the Brahman and the Vaishnava. When the Lord himself offers so much respect to the Vaishnava and the Brahman, how can one deny such respect to such personalities? Ye me tanur dvijavaran duhatir madhya bhutanya labdhak sharanani cha bheda buddha drakshantagha kshatadrisho hyahimanyavastan gridhrarusha mama kushantadhitandanetu. The Brahmans, the cows, and the defenseless creatures are my own body. Those whose faculty of judgment has been impaired by their own sin look upon these as distinct from me. They are just like furious serpents, and they are angrily torn apart by the bills of the vulture-like messengers of Yamaraj, the superintendent of sinful persons. Purport. The defenseless creatures, according to Brahma Samhita, are the cows, Brahmans, women, children, and old men. Of these five, the Brahmans and cows are especially mentioned in this verse because the Lord is always anxious about the benefit of the Brahmans and the cows, and is prayed to in this way. The Lord especially instructs, therefore, that no one should be envious of these five, especially the cows and the Brahmans. In some of the Bhagavatam readings, the word duhitri is used instead of duhati. But in either case, the meaning is the same. Duhati means cow, and duhitri can also be used to mean cow, because the cow is supposed to be the daughter of the sun god. Just as children are taken care of by the parents, women as a class should be taken care of by the father, husband, or grown-up son. Those who are helpless must be taken care of by their respective guardians. Otherwise, the guardians will be subjected to the punishment of Yamaraj, who is appointed by the Lord to supervise the activities of sinful living creatures. The assistants, or messengers of Yamaraj, are likened here to vultures, and those who do not execute their respective duties in protecting their wards are compared to serpents. Vultures deal very seriously with serpents, and similarly, the messengers will deal very seriously with neglectful guardians. Ye brahmanan maidhiyak shipatar chayantas tushyad dridha smita sudokshita parma vaktra vanyanuraga kalayatma jarvar grananta sambodhayantaham ivaham upahritastai. On the other hand, they captivate my heart, who are gladdened in heart, and who, their lotus faces enlightened by nectarian smiles, respect the Brahmins, even though the Brahmins utter harsh words. They look upon the Brahmins as my own self, and pacify them by praising them in loving words, even as a son would appease an angry father, or as I am pacifying you. Purport. It has been observed in many instances in the Vedic scriptures that when the Brahmins or Vaishnavas curse someone in an angry mood, the person who is cursed does not take it upon himself to treat the Brahmins or Vaishnavas in the same way. There are many examples of this. For instance, the sons of Kumara, when cursed by the great sage Narad, did not seek revenge in the same harsh way, but submitted. Here also, when Jaya and Vijay were cursed by the four Kumaras, they did not become harsh towards them. Rather, they submitted. That should be the way of treating Brahmins and Vaishnavas. One may sometimes be faced with a grievous situation created by a Brahmin, but instead of meeting him with a similar mood, one should try to pacify him with a smiling face and mild treatment. Brahmins and Vaishnavas should be accepted as earthly representatives of Narayan. Nowadays, some foolish persons have manufactured the term Daridra Narayan, indicating that the poor man should be accepted as a representative of Narayan. But in Vedic literature, we do not find that poor men should be treated as a representative of Narayan. Of course, those who are unprotected are mentioned here, but the definition of this phrase is clear from the Shastras. The poor man should not be unprotected, but the Brahmin should be especially treated as a representative of Narayan and should be worshipped like him. It is specifically said that to pacify the Brahmins, one's face should be lotus-like. A lotus-like face is exhibited when one is adorned with love and affection. In this respect, the example of the fathers being angry at the son and the sons trying to pacify the father with smiling and sweet words is very appropriate. Tanme svabhartu avasayam alakshamano Yushmad vyatikrama-gatim pratipadya sadhya Bhoyo mamanti kamitam taranugraho me Yat kalpatam achirato britayor vivasa. These servants of mine have transgressed against you, not knowing the mind of their master. I shall therefore deem it a favor done to me if you order that, although reaping the fruit of their transgression, they may return to my presence soon, and at the time of their exile from my abode may expire before long. God, something. I need to drink some water. 1 second. Okay, sorry. From this statement, we can understand how anxious the Lord is to get his servitorship back into Vaikuntha. This incident, therefore, proves that those who have once entered a Vaikuntha planet can never fall down. But how can somebody say that the jivas fall from Vaikuntha when Srila Prabhupada so clearly says? The case of Jaya and Vijaya is not a fall down, it is just an accident. The Lord is always anxious to get such devotees back again to the Vaikuntha planets as soon as possible. It is to be assumed that there is no possibility of a misunderstanding between the Lord and the devotees. But where discrepancies or disruptions between one devotee and another, one has to suffer the consequences, although that suffering is temporary. The Lord is so kind to his devotees that he took all the responsibility for the doorman's offense and requested the sages to give them facilities to return to Vaikuntha as soon as possible. Brahma Uvacha Atatasho shatim devim rishi kulyam saraswatim nashvadya manyu God, I have hiccups now. Nashvadya manyudashtanam tesham atmapyatripyata. Brahma continued, even though the sages had been bitten by the serpent of anger, their souls were not satiated with hearing the Lord's lovely and illuminating speech. which was like a series of Vedic hymns. Satim Vyadaya Shinvanto. Oh God. Lagvim Gurvartagar Varam Gavaram Negayagara Gambiran Navidustat Chikirshitam. The Lord's excellent speech was difficult to comprehend because of its momentous import and its most profound significance. The sages heard it with wide open ears and pondered it as well. But although hearing, they could not understand what he intended to do. Purport. It should be understood that no one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead in speaking. There is no difference between the Supreme Person and his speeches, for he stands on the absolute platform. The sages tried with wide open ears to understand the words from the lips of the Supreme Lord, but although his speech was very concise and meaningful, the sages could not completely comprehend what he was saying. They could not even comprehend the purport of the speech, or what the Lord wanted to do, nor could they understand whether the Lord was angry or pleased with them. Te yoga mayayarbata paramishtya mahodayam prochu pranjalayo vipra prahrishta kshubhita tvacha. The four Brahmin sages were nevertheless extremely delighted to behold him, and they experienced a thrill throughout their bodies. They then spoke as follows to the Lord, who had revealed the multi-glories of the Supreme Personality through his internal potency, Yogamaya. Purport. The sages were almost too puzzled to speak before the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the first time, and the hairs of their bodies stood erect due to their extreme joy. The highest opulence in the material world is called Parameshta, the opulence of Brahma. But that material opulence of Brahma, who lives in the topmost planet within this material world, cannot compare to the opulence of the Supreme Lord, because the transcendental opulence in the spiritual world is caused by Yogamaya, whereas the opulence in the material world is caused by Mahamaya. Rishaya Uchu Navayang Bhagavan Vidmas Tavadeva Chikirshitam Kritomenu Grahascheti Yad Adhyaksha Prabhashase. The great sages said, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, we are unable to know what you intend for us to do, for even though you are the Supreme Ruler of all, you speak in our favor as if we had done something good for you. The sages could understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is above everyone, was speaking as if he were in the wrong. Therefore, it was difficult for them to understand the words of the Lord. They could understand, however, that the Lord was speaking in such a humble way as just to show them his all-merciful favor. Brahmanyasya param daivam brahmana kilate prabho vipranam devadevanam bhagavan atmadaivatam. O Lord, you are the supreme director of the Brahminical culture. Your considering the Brahmins to be in the highest position is your example for teaching others. Actually, you are the supreme worshipable deity, not only for the gods, but for the Brahmins also. Purport. In the Brahma Samhita, it is clearly stated that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of all causes. There are undoubtedly many demigods, the chiefs of whom are Brahma and Shiva. Lord Vishnu is the Lord of Brahma, and Shiva, not to speak of the Brahmins in this material... Lord Vishnu is the Lord of Brahma and Shiva, not to speak of the Brahmins in this material world. As mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord is very favorable towards all activities performed according to Brahminical culture, are the qualities of control of the senses and mind, cleanliness, forbearance, faith in scripture, and practical and theoretical knowledge. The Lord is the supersoul of everyone. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the Lord is the source of all emanations. Thus, he is also the source of Brahma and Shiva. Tvatta sanatano dharmo rakshate tanubhistava dharmasya paramo guhyo nirvikaro bhavanmata. You are the source of the eternal occupation of all living entities, and by your multi-manifestations of personalities of Godhead, you have always protected religion. You are the supreme objective of religious principles, and in our opinion, you are the inexhaustible and unchangeable eternally. Purport. The statement in this verse, Dharmasya Paramo Guhya, refers to the most confidential part of all religious principles. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. The conclusion of Lord Krishna and his advice to Arjuna is, give up all other religious engagements and just surrender unto me. This is the most confidential knowledge in executing religious principles. In the Bhagavatam also, it is stated that if one does not become Krishna conscious after very rigidly executing one's specified religious duties, all his labor in following so-called religious principles is simply a waste of time. Here also, the sages confirm the statement that the Supreme Lord, not the demigods, is the ultimate goal of all religious principles. There are many foolish propagandists who say that worship of the demigods is also a way to reach the supreme goal. But in the authorized statements of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and Bhagavad Gita, this is not accepted. Bhagavad Gita says that one who worships a particular demigod can reach the demigod's planet. But one who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead can enter into Vaikuntha. Some propagandists say that regardless of what one does, he will ultimately reach the supreme abode of the Personality of Godhead. But this is not valid. The Lord is eternal. The Lord's servitor is eternal. And the Lord's abode is also eternal. They are all described here as sanatan, or eternal. The result of devotional service, therefore, is not temporary, as is the achievement of heavenly planets by worshipping the demigods. The sages wanted to stress that although the Lord, out of his causeless mercy, says that he worships the Brahmins and Vaishnavas, actually, the Lord is worshipable not only by the Brahmins and Vaishnavas, but also by the demigods. Taranti hyanjasa mrityo nivritayaranugrahat yogina sa bhavan kim svid anugriheta yatparai. Mystics and transcendentalists, by the mercy of the Lord, cross beyond nescience by ceasing all material desires. It is not possible, therefore, that the Supreme Lord can be favored by others. Purport. Unless one is favored by the Supreme Lord, one cannot cross over the ocean of nescience of repeated birth and death. Here it is stated that yogis or mystics cross beyond the nescience by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many kinds of mystics, such as the karma yogi, gyan yogi, dhyan yogi, and bhakti yogi. The karmis particularly search after the favor of the demigods. The jnanis want to become one with the Supreme Absolute Truth. And the yogis are satisfied simply by partial vision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma, and ultimately by oneness with him. But the bhaktas, the devotees, want to associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead eternally and serve him. It has already been admitted that the Lord is eternal, and those who want the favor of the Lord, of the Supreme Lord, perpetually are also eternal. Therefore, yogis here means devotees. By the mercy of the Lord, devotees can easily pass beyond the nescience of birth and death and attain the eternal abode of the Lord. The Lord is therefore not in need of another's favor, because no one is equal to or greater than him. Actually, everyone needs the favor of the Lord for successful understanding of his human mission. Yang vai vibhutirupayantano velamanyar artarti bisashirasa dritaparareno Dhanyarpitangri tulasi navadamathamno loka madhu vratapateriva kamayana. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, the dust of whose feet is worn on the head by others, waits upon you, as appointed, for she is anxious to secure a place in the abode of the king of bees, who hovers on the fresh wreath of tulsi leaves offered at your feet by some blessed devotee. Whoa. She is anxious to secure a place in the abode of the king of bees, who hovers on the fresh wreath of tulsi leaves. Okay. Okay, sorry. Purport. As previously described, Tulasi has attained all superior qualities due to being placed on the lotus feet of the Lord. The comparison made here is very nice. As the king of bees hovers over the tulsi leaves offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, so Lakshmi, the goddess who is sought by the demigods, Brahmins, Vaishnavas, and everyone else, always engages in rendering service to the lotus feet of the Lord. The conclusion is that no one can be the benefactor of the Lord. Everyone is actually the servant of the Lord. Yastang vivikta charitaranubhartamanam natyadriyat parama bhagavat natyadriyat parama bhagavata prasanga satvam dijanupata punya raja punnita Shrivatsa Lakshma Kimaga Bhagabhajanastam. O Lord, you are exceedingly attached to the activities of your pure devotees, yet you are never attached to your goddesses of fortune, who constantly engage in your transcendental loving service. How can you be purified, therefore, by the dust of the path traversed by the Brahmins? And how can you be glorified or made fortunate by the marks of Srivatsa on your chest? Purport. It is said in the Brahma Samhita that the Lord is always served by many hundreds of thousands of goddesses of fortune in his Vaikuntha planet. Yet, because of his attitude of renunciation of all opulences, he is not attached to any one of them. The Lord has 6 opulences: unlimited wealth, unlimited fame, unlimited strength, unlimited beauty, unlimited knowledge, and unlimited renunciation. All the demigods and other living entities worship Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, just to get her favor. Yet the Lord is never attached to her because he can create an unlimited number of such goddesses for his transcendental service. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is sometimes envious of the tulsi leaves which are placed at the lotus feet of the Lord, for they remain fixed there and do not move, whereas Lakshmiji, although stationed by the chest of the Lord, sometimes has to please other devotees who pray to her for favor. Lakshmiji sometimes has to go to satisfy her numerous devotees, but tulasi leaves never forsake their position, and the Lord therefore appreciates the service of the tulasi more than the service of Lakshmi. When the Lord says, therefore, that it is due to the causeless mercy of the Brahmins that Lakshmiji does not leave him, we can understand that Lakshmiji is attracted by the opulence of the Lord, not by the Brahman's benedictions upon him. The Lord is not dependent on anyone's mercy for his opulence. He is always self-sufficient. The Lord's statement that his opulence is due to the benediction of the Brahmins and Vaishnavas is only to teach others that they should offer respect to the Brahmins and Vaishnavas, the devotees of the Lord. Dharmasya te bhagavata striyuga tribhisvai parbhischara charama idam dijadevatartam nunam britam tarabhikati rajastamascha satvena no varadaya tanuva nirasya. O Lord, you are the personification of all religion. Therefore you manifest yourself in 3 millenniums, and thus you protect this universe, which consists of animate and inanimate beings. By your grace, which is of pure goodness and is the bestower of all blessings, Kindly drive away the elements of Rajas and Tamas for the sake of the demigods and twice born. Purport. The Lord is addressed in this verse as Sri Yuga, or one who appears in 3 millenniums, namely Satya, Dwapar, and Treta Yugas. He is not mentioned as appearing in the 4th millennium, or Kali Yuga. It is described in Vedic literature that in Kali Yuga, he comes as Channa Avatar, or an incarnation, and he does not appear as a manifest incarnation. In the other yugas, however, the Lord is a manifest incarnation, and therefore he is addressed as Tri Yuga, or the Lord who appears in 3 yugas. Sridhar Swami describes Tri Yuga as follows. Yuga means couple, and Tri means 3. The Lord is manifested as 3 couples by his 6 opulences, or 3 couples of opulences. In that way, he can be addressed as Tri Yuga. Okay, so Tri Yuga can refer to Bhagavan, the 6 opulences that define Bhagavan. The Lord is the personality of religious principles. In 3 millenniums, religious principles are protected by the 3 kinds of spiritual culture, namely austerity, cleanliness, and mercy. The Lord is called Tri Yuga in that way also. In the age of Kali, these 3 requisites to spiritual culture are almost absent. But the Lord is so kind that in spite of Kali Yugas being devoid of these 3 spiritual qualities, he comes and protects the people of this age in his covered incarnation as Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is called covered because although he is Krishna himself, he protects himself as a devotee of Krishna, not directly Krishna, as a devotee of Krishna, not directly Krishna. The devotees pray to Lord Chaitanya, therefore, to eliminate their stock of passion and ignorance, the most conspicuous assets of this Kali Yuga. What's conspicuous? It's conspicuous, sorry. Why is it? Yeah, okay, I know what conspicuous means. Standing out so as to be clearly visible. Sorry about that. It's embarrassing. Okay, in the Krishna consciousness movement, one cleanses himself of the modes of passion and ignorance by chanting the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, as introduced by Lord Chaitanya. The 4 Kumaras were cognizant of their situation in the modes of passion and ignorance, because although in Vaikuntha they wanted to curse the devotees of the Lord. I'm curious though, how could the 4 Kumaras have passion and ignorance in the Vaikuntha planets? I guess that's what they're at. Yeah. Also, something I was wondering is, I thought only Narad Muni could be in his self-same body and go into Vaikuntha and come into the material world. But is that the same with the 4 Kumaras? Like, will they come back to the material world after they're in Vaikuntha, or are they in Vaikuntha eternally after they went there? The 3 transcendental qualifications, cleanliness, austerity, and mercy, are the qualifications of the twice-born and the demigods. Those who are not situated in the quality of goodness cannot accept these 3 principles of spiritual culture. For the Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, there are 3 sinful activities which are prohibited, namely, illicit sex, intoxication, and eating food other than the prasad offered to Krishna. What about gambling? These 3 prohibitions are based on the principles of austerity, cleanliness, and mercy. Devotees are merciful because they spare the poor animals, and they are clean because they are free from contamination from unwanted foodstuff and unwanted habits. Austerity is represented by a restricted sex life. These principles, indicated by the prayers of the 4 Kumaras, should be followed by the devotees who are engaged in Krishna consciousness. Natvam tijotamakulam yarihatma gopam gopta vrisha swarhanena sasunrit gopta vrisha Swarhanena sunvritena, so whatever. Taryeva nangshat Taryeva nangshyati shivastava deva panta loka grahishya rishabhasya hitat pramanam. O Lord, you are the protector of the highest of the twice-born. If you do not protect them by offering worship in mild words, then certainly the auspicious path of worship will be rejected by people in general, who act on the strength and authority of your lordship. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated by the Lord himself that the acts and character of great authorities are followed by people in general. Leaders of ideal character are therefore needed in society. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appeared in this material world just to show the example of perfect authority, and people have to follow his path. The Vedic injunction is that one cannot understand the absolute truth simply by mental speculation or logical argument. One has to follow the authorities. Mahajano yena gata sapanta. Great authority should be followed. Otherwise, if we simply depend on the scriptures, we are sometimes misled by rascals, or else we cannot understand or follow the different spiritual injunctions. The best path is to follow the authorities. The four Brahman sages stated that Krishna is naturally the protector of the cows and Brahmins. Go Brahmana hitaya cha. When Krishna was on this planet, he set a practical example. He was a cowherd boy, and he was very, very respectful to the Brahmins and devotees. It is also affirmed herein that the Brahmins are the best of the twice-born. Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas are all twice-born, but the Brahmins are the best. When there is a fight between two persons, each of them protects the upper part of his body, the head, the arms, and the belly. Similarly, for the actual advancement of human civilization, the best parts of the social body, namely the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, and the Vaishyas, the intelligent class of men, the military class, and the mercantile men, should be given special protection. Protection of the laborers should not be neglected, but special protection should be given to the upper orders. Of all classes of men, the Brahmins and the Vaishnavas should be given special protection. They should be worshipped. When their protection is performed, it is just like worshipping God. That is not exactly protection. It is a duty. One should worship the Brahmins and Vaishnavas by offering them all kinds of endowments and sweet words. And if one has no means to offer anything, he must at least use sweet words to pacify them. The Lord personally exhibited this behavior towards the Kumaras. If this system is not introduced by the leaders, then human civilization will be lost. When there is no protection and spiritual treatment for persons who are devotees of the Lord, who are highly intelligent in spiritual life, then the whole society is lost. The words nangshyati indicates that such a civilization becomes spoiled and is annihilated. The kind of civilization recommended is called Devapata, which means the royal road of the demigods. Demigods are supposed to be fully fixed to devotional service or Krishna consciousness. That is the auspicious path that should be protected. If the authorities or the leaders of society do not give special respect to the Brahmins and Vaishnavas, and do not offer them not only sweet words, but all facilities, then the paths of progress will be lost to the human civilization. The Lord personally wanted to teach this, and therefore he offered so much praise to the Kumaras. Tattena bhishtamiva sattva-niderviditso kshemang janaya nija shakti virudritare naitavatatradhi pater pata vishvabhartus tejakshatam tvavanatasya sate vinodha. Dear Lord, you never want the auspicious path to be destroyed, for you are the reservoir of all goodness. Just to benefit people in general, You destroy the evil element by your mighty potency. You are the proprietor of the three creations and the maintainer of the entire universe. Therefore, your potency is not reduced by your submissive behavior. Rather, by submission, you exhibit your transcendental pastimes. Purport. Lord Krishna was never reduced in his position by becoming a cowherd boy or by offering respect to Sudama Brahman or his other devotees like Nanda Maharaj, Vasudev, Maharaj Yudhishthir, and the Pandavas' mother, Kunti. Everyone knew that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, yet his behavior was exemplary. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Satchidananda Vigraha. His form is completely spiritual, full of bliss and knowledge, and it is eternal. Because the living entities are his parts and parcels, originally they also belong to the same quality of eternal form as the Lord. But when they come into contact with Maya, the material potency, due to their because of the let me reread that. Because the living entities are his parts and parcels, originally they also belong to the same quality of eternal form as the Lord. But when they come in contact with Maya, the material potency, due to their forgetfulness, their existential constitution is covered. We should try to understand the appearance of Lord Krishna in this spirit, as the Kumaras prayed to him. He is eternally a cowherd boy at Vrindavan. He is eternally the leader of the battle of Kurukshetra, and he is eternally the opulent prince of Dwarka, and the lover of the damsels of Vrindavan. All his appearances are meaningful because they show his real characteristics to the conditioned souls who have forgotten their relationship with the Supreme Lord. He does everything for their benefit. The force exhibited in the battle of Kurukshetra by the desire of Krishna and through the agency of Arjuna was also necessary because when the people become too irreligious, force is required. Non-violence in this respect is rascaldom. Yamvanayordamam. I think we're ending with this verse, right? I think yeah. Yamvanayordamam adisha bhavan vidhatte vritte nuvataranuman mahidnirvyalika asmasuvaya uchito driyatam sadando yena gasavayamayum shamahi kilbish. O Lord, whatever punishment you wish to award to these two innocent persons, are also to us, we shall accept without duplicity. We understand that we have cursed two faultless persons. Purport. The sages, the four Kumaras, now reject their cursing of the two doorkeepers, Jaya and Vijay, because they are now conscious that persons who engage in the service of the Lord cannot be at fault at any stage. It is said that anyone who has implicit faith in the service of the Lord, or who actually engages in transcendental loving service, has all the good qualities of the demigods. Therefore, a devotee cannot be at fault. If sometimes it is found that he is in error by accident or by some temporary arrangement, that should be not taken very seriously. The cursing of Jaya and Vijay is here repented. Now the four Kumaras are thinking in terms of their position in the modes of passion and ignorance, and they are prepared to accept any kind of punishment from the Lord. In general, when dealing with devotees, we should try not to find faults. In Bhagavad Gita also it is confirmed that the devotee who faithfully serves the Supreme Lord, even if found to commit a gross mistake, should be considered a sadhu or a saintly person. Due to former habits, he may commit some wrong, but because he is engaged in the service of the Lord, that wrong should not be taken very seriously. Alright, so we are ending here. Tomorrow we will hear the Lord reconciled the situation. The Lord will say, punishment of them is ordained by me. And then the sages departed from Vaikuntha, And then the Lord to Jai and Vijay says, I don't desire to nullify the Brahman's curse. Go to the material world. Lakshmi foretold this. You will return to me by meditating on me in anger. And then Lord Brahma concludes the narration. Jai and Vijay fell from Vaikuntha and entered Aditi's womb. The prowess of these twin asuras disturbed you. Only the Lord can come to our rescue. That's what we will read tomorrow. All right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Giridhari, Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Nitil Pavishta Vishnupar Ashtatara Shata Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Nārāyaṇa Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudeva Ki Jai, Nitil Pavishta Vishnupar Ashtatara Shata Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Nārāyaṇa Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudeva Ki Jai, Nitil Pavishta Vishnupar Ashtatara Shata Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitil Pavishta Vishnupar Ashtatara Shata Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitil Pavishta Mahabhagavat. Sorry, I was spaced out. Nitil Pavishta Vishnupar Ashtatara Shata Bhakti Vedanta Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitil Pavishta Vishnupar Ashtatara Shata Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitil Pavishta Mahabhagavat Shri Bhaksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitil Pavishta Shri Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai, Nitil Pavishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Rupa Nagagorya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dashagunath Shada Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai, Nama Chaishla Hairas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Sarva Abhishta Pradakta Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Ki Jai, Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya Ki Jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Anantapati Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavascha Krishna Bhakti Pradevi Sattvatai Namo Namo Vacha Kalpatirubhi Ashta Kripa Sandhokhe Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Dandavat Pranams Indira Mataji. See you tomorrow. And tomorrow we'll be finishing the chapter. We actually don't have that much left in the chapter also, so we'll probably finish early tomorrow.